about, but we haven't. Welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard here on this Thursday morning, 8th day of June.
Yes, and I can't believe we're headed into convention season for the Republicans. That starts tomorrow in Columbus. So I'm excited. I will be there. And Vivek is speaking tomorrow afternoon, which I'm very excited about.
Tell him I said hey.
Huh?
Tell him I said hey.
I will. I'll get his autograph.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then we have Trump on Saturday. We have Carrie Lake on tomorrow night. It should be a great lineup. Asa Hutchinson is speaking. I am not going to that event, but he will be there. So 3 presidential candidates, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, the country is on the verge of Asa Hutchinson mania, by the way. And we've got another one in the race, another governor, Doug Nordstrom from North Dakota. So,
yeah,
way to go.
The thing is like it's hard to keep up.
I'm announcing, but this is my pre-announcement that I'm going to announce tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks
So
for
I'll be running
sharing.
as well. So start sending money.
Yes. Well, and so we have Chris Christie. I mean,
Donald Trump.
Okay. Nikki Haley.
Ron
Tim
DeSantis.
Scott. Ron DeSantis. I mean, here's the thing. They're
Asa
opening.
Hutchinson.
Yeah, Asa Hutchinson. Vivek Ramaswamy.
Now Doug.
Now Doug. So, I mean, they're opening this up. The thing is they're going to...
Trump's going to be doing handstands every time somebody else announces.
That's what's going to happen. I think that they're thinking that they're going to be
Exactly.
able to pill off people, but I just really don't see it. I think also you're seeing kind of the difference between the pro-America group and kind of the old style Republicans. When you hear them talking about how we have to continue to give money to Ukraine and we have to continue to fight this war with Ukraine. And I think that we're seeing a lot of the differences just within the Republican Party as people start to announce and put out their platform goals, and also, when they make comments about certain things that are going on.
We've given enough to Ukraine. That's enough. Enough is enough. And this is getting ridiculous. So because we're running out of ammunition and we don't have the wherewithal to replace it very quickly.
No, and
when you got one factory making a particular weapon, that's not good.
No, it's not. And we forgot Pence.
Yeah, Mike Pence.
We did forget about Mike Pence, but
he's kind of forgettable.
I
hate that because I like the guy.
I did like him.
But he's too low key. And some of the things that he said yesterday were astonishing.
Yeah,
astonishing.
Yep, he had a town hall with CNN yesterday, and Bill,
where they just fired their CEO again because he had the audacity to have Donald Trump on. So let me get this straight. You have a show where you quadruple the ratings for that time slot.
They're not in it to make money. Let's just remember that.
and they get mad at him and fire the guy. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Sounds like a company I once worked for.
Well, that's the thing. It's like these companies don't understand that they need to make money, but they're so worried about ESG and all of the other shenanigans that are coming along with that. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But what?
On the Pence and the town hall, when he was talking about how he would stand up for the Constitution and that the president was asking him to circumvent the Constitution, no, he wasn't. The president knew that this was a rigged election. He knew that this was balderdash, that all sorts of fraud had been committed. He was asking him to follow the Constitution. He wasn't saying he was above the Constitution. He said to follow the Constitution, that they wanted to find out what in the hell went wrong. And we've had no investigations into this, or if they did the investigation, they tried to do the investigation, tried to sue. You had all these federal judges throw it out without even looking at the evidence.
Well, and I think there's a process. I think that's what Trump was asking was for the process to be followed.
Exactly.
And it was just, send it back to the states, verify it again, and then we can continue with the process. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And here's the thing, Bill, whether you believe that there was enough fraud to change the election or not. The fact that a lot of the American people are questioning a lot of these elections. And prior to 2020, you had Kamala Harris, you had all of these people that were questioning elections and did a whole, they did a whole documentary on these Dominion machines.
Right.
So whether you believe it was or wasn't, the fact that we haven't seen more transparency, we've seen less. I mean, we're allowed to question things.
And you know, as the old saying goes, that you know, or that perception is reality. And if you perceive the election to be fraudulent, if you don't have confidence in the election, we don't have the precious democracy anymore.
Well, and I think that democracy has really been weaponized, and
Exactly.
so when I hear, because the left,
Because we're not a democracy.
Correct, and so the left uses that a lot. So when I hear Republicans using it, it kind of makes me cringe.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those terms that's used so much, just like the term African American that was invented by Jesse what's his face?
Jackson.
Yeah, the left Reverend Jesse Jackson. He invented that term. And most of these people aren't from Africa. They aren't African Americans, okay? They didn't come from Africa. They've never been to Africa. In fact, if they probably went to Africa, they'd probably say, it wasn't so bad over here. So it's one of those terms that was just simply made, and it was used so much that everybody's using it now.
Well, and I think that it also makes people, I mean, honestly, it makes people uncomfortable now because they don't know, do I say African American? Do I say black? Like, what do I say now? Because everyone's so offended by everything that it's...
Oh, let me tell you, my grandson in Charlotte, one day, the teacher was talking about Negro race, or, you know, and might have said Negro leagues. I don't know if they were talking about baseball or whatever, but he raised his hand. He said, "What's a Negro?" He got sent to the principal's office. They thought he was making fun or a joke.
Oh,
He'd never heard the word.
Wow.
He'd never heard the term.
But that's the thing. They've made it very uncomfortable for people, so people don't use it, which I think is, you know, if it makes people uncomfortable, okay, fine. But
one of my favorite talk show hosts used to be, who was retired now, Ken Hamlin, called himself the Black Avenger. He was a black talk show host, and he would go into places and they'd say, you know, put down the race, and he said Negro, and they look at, what? He said, I'm a Negro. He said, I don't have any place to check that off here. But he loved to have fun with that. But and then of course, going back to Pence, you just told me this because I didn't watch the whole thing because it was
had other things to do.
Well, there was that, and but if I'm ever have insomnia, I'll put on one of his speeches. But the same, but he says he would not pardon the January 6th people who have been put in jail for nothing.
Yep, and we can watch him say that himself.
Okay. Yeah, because this is ridiculous. We've got these people in jail who've been in jail for like 2 years, who have not seen their family, not talked to a lawyer.
Due process is not being followed.
The due process, yeah.
And we didn't sign up to basically freeze spending for $4 trillion in debt. So you ask, what's the alternative? The alternative is pretty simple. You have about $28 or $29 billion of COVID funds. You have 80
Oh, that's Chip Roy. We'll get back to old Chipper in a minute. But Mike Pence, Tucker Carlson, when he was, you know, before
he got kicked off Fox.
Yeah, kicked off Fox. When he showed that video of the shaman, you know, the guy in the Viking hat walking around in the Capitol being escorted by the cops, that shot everything down that this January 6th committee was lying to us about and spent millions of your tax dollars on. And so, and that just shot the whole thing to hell. And Mike Pence is saying he's not going to pardon these people?
The Constitution of the United States.
Sir, on that, Donald Trump says he is, quote, inclined to pardon many members of the mob who attacked the Capitol on January 6th. Those people were, of course, part of the same mob who built gallows and chanted about wanting to hang you. Would you consider pardoning any of them?
You know, on the day of January 6th, I issued a tweet demanding that people leave the Capitol and end the violence. And I said that those that failed to do that should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And I continue to believe that today. We cannot ever allow what happened on January 6th to happen again in the heart of our democracy. And I'll stand by the decisions and the due process of court in our laws. And I have no interest or no intention of pardoning those that assaulted police officers or vandalized our Capitol. They need to be answerable to the law.
Not one that I have. So,
Well, they haven't been answerable to the law because they haven't had their day in court yet.
Well, I think, you know, I liked Pence with Trump because I felt like Pence was like a good balance for Trump.
He was.
And
Good backup man.
yeah, and up until the pandemic and all of that stuff that played out, and you know, I think they gave a lot of power to Birx and Anthony Fauci in a lot of ways.
The scarf.
Yeah. Well, and just I'm just really surprised at some of the behavior, and also the fact that, you know, Pence, you know, he backed down and he didn't continue to support the president after January 6th. And I understand that January 6th, the imaging and all of that was horrible, but come to find out, you know, we've seen videotapes of what happened and that they actually added a lot of the audio. The audio was added because guess what? None of the security cameras have sound. So
yeah, they can edit the way they want to. I spent 30 years in television. I know you can edit a story the way you want it to come out, and slant it the way you want it to, and not make it look like it. You can do selective editing to make it people sound like they said something that they really didn't or didn't mean, and take it out of context completely.
Well,
so,
now with the AI.
yeah. Oh, please. But the worst thing is not only are these people behind bars illegally, who didn't do anything. Some people came and they arrested them who weren't even there because they watched it on television or something. I mean, the charges that they have trumped up against these people, pun intended, have just been disgusting. And it is anti-American. It is not the way we're supposed to do things in this country, and it is a part of this double standard that we have in our judicial system that is just chilling. That these people are still in jail who did nothing except walk around the Capitol.
Escorted by police officers.
Escorted by police officers, or just walking around taking a few selfies and taking some other pictures. And you heard people actually say, respect the property. You didn't see them spray painting and tearing down statues like we saw from the Summer of Love from the same people that year. And by the way, I talked to 3 eyewitnesses who were up there. And they said they saw the Antifa buses rolling up, and as these people were getting off, they were handed this MAGA, all this MAGA paraphernalia. They were the ones who were leading the charge into that place. And nobody got killed that day except one person, an Air Force veteran. An Air Force veteran was murdered in cold blood by a Capitol police officer who happened to be a gentleman of color, and he gets off the hook. They don't prosecute him, and he murdered an Air Force veteran who had served us honorably in Afghanistan, I think 2 tours. And she was killed in cold blood, and the family has gotten nothing for it, and certainly no apology from this administration, which they won't, of course.
No, they won't. And yeah, Bill, it's crazy times we're living in.
Yeah, it is.
Crazy times.
No apologies from Canada either for sending us all the smoke. I'm going to show you that coming up.
We'll be right back.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke.
When I grow up,
I want to be hired based on what I look like.
rather than my skills, I want to be judged
By my political beliefs, I want to get promoted.
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up, I want to be offended
By my coworkers,
and walk around the office
on eggshells.
and have my words policed.
By HR, words like
Grandfather,
peanut gallery,
Long time no see.
No can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long. When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder.
just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist. I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
At Get Real America, we are focused on Savannah, but we'd like to hear from other communities as well. We have a lot in common.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy Thursday.
Here we are. We're ending another week.
Yeah, we sure are. And of course, things are just peachy in New York. In fact, it looks kind of peachy.
A little peachy, yeah.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. This is what the air quality looks like. They say it's worse actually in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly shove. So it's just unbelievable. All this, the fires in Canada, and they don't have the wherewithal to fight them like we do. So the president has generously sent 600 of our firefighters up there. But normally in Canada, over a 10-year period, the average of acreage on fire has been somewhere around 300,000, which is a lot, of course. But right now, it's closing in over 7 million acres. This is a color picture, folks. And be proud of the smoke outside.
Yes, definitely.
This comes down to land management and forestry management, that you do control burns, that you take out all the junk from the forests that's deteriorated because it just becomes kindling. If a fire does break out, most of these fires have been caused by either lightning or stupid campers that don't know how to put a fire out.
Yes.
But who's getting the blame?
Climate
change. Yes, sir. You've got old Bolt Neck himself, John Kerry, who, by the way, served in Vietnam, and other AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who are using this, jumping right on the bandwagon that this is climate change and this is why we need to take over your lives.
Well, and here's the problem, Bill. They've created a narrative in which whether the weather is hot or cold or we have a hurricane or a tornado or forest fires, it is climate change, and it's the Republicans' fault because they won't allow us to do what we want to do for climate change.
And we won't take guns away from people.
Yes.
So that's causing the entire problem, but it's not them flying around in their private jets by any means. They don't do as we do as we say. So we have this. They used to call it global warming. Well, they would have a global warming conference and they'd have to call it off because there was a blizzard. So they decided to call it global cooling for a while. That didn't work because they'd go someplace and it was 150 degrees. So then they decided, it's climate change. You know when climate change started? The day after God invented the place.
Well, and we're coming out of an ice age right now, I also think
why do we have?
I learned that in school. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Why do we have the Great Lakes? Climate change. Why do we have the Grand Canyon? Climate change.
Well, and going back to the forest issues, growing up in Utah, they do a lot of forest management. And one of the things is in one of the areas in southern Utah, they decided that it was a good idea not to continue with the forest controls. We had the biggest fires we've ever had when that happened. You have to do these controlled burns, otherwise you will have massive wildfires. And look at California.
And what was what was the logic? It was working, and let's quit doing what's working and do something different.
They were trying to save some beetle. It had something to do with that.
The beetles will do fine.
Well, and I think that that's the thing. We've gotten so out of control with what the requirements that we have for environmental things that we're doing more harm than good now because we're worried about, whatever. And we're doing all these studies about random insects that we pay for with our tax money.
And they want you to eat them.
That's not happening.
So but there was this was about 10 or 12 years ago, there was a farmer, I think out there in California that accidentally ran over a kangaroo rat, which is one of the endangered species or something. And they wanted to arrest this guy.
California is crazy.
California is crazy.
Well, here's
it's
the
getting
thing
crazier all the time, and you've got Gavin Newsom who wants to be the next crazy president.
Well, yeah, I haven't heard that announcement yet, but I'm having a hard time keeping up these days.
Believe me, it's in the hatchworks.
Well, and in California, it's interesting. They want to kill babies at 9 months, but they will not let you work on a project if there's an eagle egg found. Very bizarre. None of their
you can't make this stuff up.
In California, nothing makes sense. So, but one of the most beautiful states we have, and I am just so sad at the state it's in. It's very, very terrible there. And our friend Mary's with us this morning, and she says January 6th was an inside job. Do not disagree with you, Mary.
Because we got ample evidence that the FBI was instigating a lot of this stuff. This is. You're right. The truth will finally come out.
Well, it already has started coming out. I mean, the second that Tucker Carlson released those videos, and I'm wondering if they're still in his possession. I think that that's quite interesting. We'll see if they belong to Fox or Tucker Carlson. We'll have more on Tucker in just a minute. But Steve Statton is with us this morning, and he says, I'm afraid before we who have common sense take a stance and say enough, it's going to be too late. I agree. Everyone thinks, we're the silent majority. It's such a great thing. No. It is not a badge of honor. We need to be the very loud majority, and we need to shut all of this stuff down.
Well, as a matter of fact, it's not the silent majority anymore. It's the government being deaf.
I don't know. We still have a lot of people that have bought into the narrative that the politically correctness, I think, has made everyone terrified to say anything. And HR departments across America have made it impossible to speak up in the workplace.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I was told when I was doing my morning radio show making fun of liberals that, I could say, as long as I protected the license, I could say just about anything I wanted to on the air, take any opinion, stand, take calls from anybody. But as soon as I walked out of the studio, talking with coworkers and everything, I couldn't discuss my political opinions. Most of the people were pretty conservative, so you didn't have to worry about that very much. I had one boss that was a liberal, but he was a great boss, and he didn't interfere with anything that I did.
Yeah, and so talking about some of the stuff happening in Savannah. So yesterday, the school board met. I was actually really surprised. I wasn't able to attend. The meeting went till 6 o'clock, Bill. I mean, started at 2, ended at 6. They left around 6, I think, the people that I knew that went. So, but a lot of energy there. We finally saw one of our school board members, Michael Johnson, speak out against the budget. That was really great to hear. And he voted against it, as well as Roger Moss. The rest of the board voted for it. We have an almost $1 billion budget.
$800 million. To be precise, tentative millage rate 17.6. They didn't raise the millage rate, but they said because property taxes itself, because the values of property going up, they would get the revenue, more revenue.
Yes, and I think I don't think that they're being good stewards of the money. And
no.
Yeah, I know, weird, but I do think that people need to pay attention because what we pay about anywhere from, it ranges from about 50 to 68% of our property taxes are going to the school, and we're paying for a school system that is failing, and they want more and more money. They're getting more and more money. Where are they putting all of this money? Who knows? Because it's not going back into the children. They're buying programs that don't, the ESL programs, the critical race programs, they're changing the names of things, but they're still buying those types of programs in our schools.
Yeah, so not teaching critical race theory anymore. That's because they've changed the name of it.
Exactly.
They're still teaching it. They just changed the name because they're good at manipulating the language. It is the two public school hearings are held on the proposed millage rate. They're going to be next Wednesday, the 14th, at 11 and 6 at the Jesse Collier Deloach Boardroom at the Whitney Administration Complex on 2 Laura Avenue. And there's going to be another one right after that as well. I've asked for my 5 minutes to speak at the upcoming one next Wednesday.
I'm looking forward to that, Bill.
Oh, me too.
Looking forward to what you have to say. I do think more taxpayers need to get involved because I don't think people really look at what the property tax goes to. I think that they just write the check and send it off. Mm-hmm. But when you really start to break it down, when it's 50 to 60, 70% of your property taxes are going to the school and they're failing, that's a huge problem, Bill.
Yeah.
And if you have kids in the school and they're not being able to read, and so I actually went to an event last night with a panel that is running for either city council in Savannah or the mayor race. Mm-hmm. And one of them said, we have 8th graders that are on 3rd grade reading levels. Like it's unacceptable. It is unacceptable because these children, they're unable to learn what they need to learn in 8th grade when they have a 3rd grade reading level. So big problems in the schools here, and people need to get involved, and you need to understand what's going on, and we need to put pressure on these people to do the right thing.
Pardon me. If you'd like to be placed up, by the way, on a public hearing on the agenda for one of these meetings, you need to call the board office, which is an area, and most of the time when we give you a number, the area code is 912. But it is 395-5534, 395-5534. And you can also email Olivia Hale Miller, and it's olivia.hale-miller at I love this, sccpss.com. That's Savannah Chatham County Public Schools.com.
And
Public school system. That's the other S.
Yes. And so Mary Hybreeder is with us this morning, and she says 8th graders are reading at a 3rd grade level. Budget salary increases should be tied to performance, 100%.
Yeah.
That's something the government needs to do everywhere because the government doesn't perform well anywhere, but they seem to get all these bonuses and salary increases all the time.
And the thing that gets me is that they will come up with the excuses that we haven't spent enough money on it. So you spend, in these government programs, they'll say, okay, we spent $50 billion on it last year and it's not working. Let's spend $55 billion on it next year. That'll do the trick. It's like gun laws. One more gun law is going to take care of the situation.
And it definitely has not.
No.
And then our friend Steve Stanton says, Brian Mudd, a coworker of yours, Bill, turned out to be a champion of the right.
Yes, he is.
So very exciting to have more people out there that are.
Steve, let me know what that is in context with. I know because Brian is 100% American, and he works down at West Palm Beach.
Oh, okay.
Does a finance show down there as well as one at WIOD in Miami. So which is a big 50,000 watt flamethrower down there. Brian's the real deal. Meanwhile, coming up next, what about your finances?
Yes, you'll be talking with Travis Chance.
Yep, Travis Chance coming up from CFG Wealth Management on what to do with your money and what's coming up. At Get Real America, we want to make sure that the real story gets out, and you can help us as a sponsor or as an advertiser to make sure that word does get out to the community.
Be a sponsor and support your local community here at Get Real America.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living, because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was, and that they had come to us because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America. I'm Bill Edwards. Always a pleasure to be talking with a good buddy Travis Chance of CFG Wealth Management and find out what's going on financially these days, what you can do to protect your assets and your wealth. And Travis, one of the things that I think that are concerning people are all these woke corporations. We're hearing a lot about Target these days, and more is coming out about them and Anheuser-Busch and all. Are you any of your clients kind of asking you about dropping those stocks and going to something else, or is there a substitute?
So to answer your question initially about our clients calling and requesting it, no, sir. Our clients, as we've talked before, we don't invest on ESG. We invest on meritocracy, the best and hopefully the brightest of the bunch. As far as the woke corporations go, the InBev, Anheuser-Busch, we currently don't hold any positions in those. Target, we definitely hold Target just because, I mean, fundamentally speaking, and I'm not talking about their marketing team, right? I'm just talking about fundamentally. Fundamentally, you've got, Target price target of 220, median of 180. Currently trading around 137, 130. So, 3.5% dividend yield. The financials that it shows on a regular basis. I don't like what they've done. I think it's essentially going to go to a lawsuit by the shareholders hopefully to get rid of some of this stuff, because the marketing team has essentially damaged the stock. And that is not that's not looking out for the benefit or the best interest of the shareholders. So we do hold Target. We don't hold Anheuser-Busch InBev, but we don't invest on the woke or not woke philosophy. I think trying to pick who's here today and gone tomorrow in that arena, at some point you might be holding no stocks, because it seems like that's where everybody's trying to go, or at least that's what it appears anyway.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of kickback along those lines, and that corporations are going to have to finally come and wake up and smell the coffee. But one of the things that when we see these stories is that their stock or their value dropped like $500 million or something along those lines, and that's a lot to us regular everyday folks. That sounds like an enormous amount of money, an enormous amount of. But you said those stocks still tend to be making money and strong, so there's at least that.
Well, I referenced Target. I mean, Target, Walmart, and I'm not. I have to make a disclaimer here because the regulators would definitely have my lunch for this if I don't. I am not recommending any of your listeners or any of your subscribers buy any of these stocks. I'm just speaking in generality, so I have to make that disclaimer. Walmart, Target, Costco. I mean, these are retail juggernauts, right? I mean, let's face it. I do not like, and I don't even like some of Walmart's their new woke agenda, which I think has been somewhat subdued because they've seen the fallout from some of these other companies. But at the end of the day, they are still in the retail, in the commerce category, consumer staples, consumer driven products. I mean, really not anyone any better or any bigger, any stronger than these companies. So we generally try to pick the best and the brightest of each sector. And sometimes that means you have to hold your nose when you go to the checkout counter. I get it. Sometimes Anheuser-Busch, InBev, I think there are other options there that are probably a little more viable. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's wise for us to just throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I also think it is completely ridiculous on their part to think that they were not going to get any pushback from anyone for some of these new policies and these new marketing ideas and retail apparel in the store that just does not, for the most part, 75-80% of Americans just do not agree with. And it just kind of is what it is. I think honestly, I hate to you always tell me I try to be optimistic. To make hay when the sun's shining, I think there's a spot that the sun is shining. It's a great time to buy, in my opinion. When you see these companies, if they are strong, if they show where they're going to be fixing some of these and maybe remedying some of these policies, these woke agendas, if they're getting rid of those, $130 for Target's a great buying opportunity. Because, like I said, it's got a price target of 220, 3.5% dividend yield, strong financials, expected to grow earnings per share consistently over the next 4 to 5 years. I think if you're looking for it for today, yeah, you could probably look at it and be a little frightened. But if you look at it over a 1, 2, 3 year time span, I think you'll be pretty happy.
Yeah, and we always say that the market is not a sprint; it's a marathon. So stick with it. One day is not going to make any difference, or a week is not going to make any difference on the stock market. What do you and what sort of things do you see coming around the corner when they say that Saudi Arabia has decided they're going to drop 1 million barrels a day from production? And if maybe our administration or somebody here would wake up and smell the coffee and say, we're standing on the biggest oil reserve in the world.
Bill, I think they're drinking chloroform. They're not drinking coffee because they have been asleep at the wheel for this entire period. I don't see. Number one, when we had oil as cheap as it was for a period of time, we should have been topping off our strategic oil reserves as much as we could hand over fist. We missed an opportunity. We have flooded the market. I think Saudi Arabia is, a lot of estimates, a lot of analysts say they need $80 oil in order to really be at the profit margin they want to be at. They were not happy with it being in the 60s and the 70s. So this, I think, is retaliation. I think they're a little perturbed still with the U.S., and this is one way to kind of twist the knife in, and they've cut their production because they're going to, whether we help or not, they're going to get oil back to $80 a barrel. What that's going to mean for the consumer, I mean, we've read this book over and over, and it's like we just keep going back to the beginning page of the chapter. We're going to see higher gas prices at the pump. We're going to see other consumer products go up, which could be part of there. I mean, let's think about it. I don't want to say. I don't want to think there's a conspiracy theory, but they might say, you know what, the Federal Reserve may have cracked something. We want to increase inflation so that they'll keep pushing the envelope and see what breaks. I'm not saying that's a possibility, but who knows? You never know what they're thinking. I think it could cause inflation to be a little more sticky. I think you could see inflation tick back up into the high fours, low fives, but long term, I think it's going to be a short term blip because I don't see this lasting a terribly long time. I could be wrong.
Well, and let's give some advice to the listeners as we wrap up here, that there's nothing better than having somebody like you or your corporation, your organization, to help us guide our money. We don't have the wherewithal, most of us don't have the wherewithal or the knowledge to look at all these different stocks and everything that you do every day. And that it really is important for somebody, no matter how late in life, to start thinking about, you need to, as you've always said, one of my favorite sayings that I've adopted, you don't want to run out of money before you run out of breath. So how do they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Well, Bill, first and foremost, thank you. I really appreciate the kind words. And you're right. I think so many times we don't know who to trust. We don't know who to go to. So we end up trying to do it on our own. And in a lot of cases, it's not going to work out well, simply because the landscape, the legislation, the rules, the market changes so rapidly, and the ground can literally shift under your feet before you know it. And having someone who actually, as you said, does this for a living and can help advise you, it's not our job to tell a client what to do. It's to lay out the options as they currently exist, give you the pros and cons, and then make a recommendation of, if this is where we're trying to go, this is probably the path that'll get us there. That to me is the key. Is education is always our top of mind. We want you to be educated. We don't want you to do anything you don't understand, or at least not know where you're going. I think walking blindly, you may feel like you're making progress, but you may just be walking around in circles. I think for those who are out there, they're worried, they're concerned. That's very much understood and appreciated right now. And if they need to give us a call because they'd like someone to help guide them, they can give us a call at 877-269-0839 or visit us at chancefinancialgroup.com.
All right. Sure to appreciate it, Travis. And once again, it's the media's job, of course, to terrify people. So it's nice to have the sounding board. Yeah. Appreciate it. Talk to you again next week. Thanks, Tom. Take care.
All right. Thanks.
We'll be right
Bill.
back.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart, doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, They're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And you saw Vandy there.
Yes, Vandy is my golden doodle. He is always in the studio with us, but you can never hear him.
He's our comfort dog.
Yes, he is wonderful.
Good buddy.
And that was from our South Magazine article that they did on Bill. So that was really fun.
It was very nice.
Yes.
I sincerely appreciate that. And South Magazine is one of the finest finest magazine anywhere, practically, especially for local.
Very high quality.
Yeah. And Michael, thank you for a great magazine, and thank you for the article.
Yes, it was really fun.
Mm-hmm. Michael Brooks, salute.
A lot of great things here in Savannah.
For sure. However,
there's always craziness going on. You and I were talking during the break about a military commercial that you had seen last night. I haven't seen it yet, but apparently they're realizing that they're probably going the wrong direction when it comes to recruiting.
Yeah, the Army has one, and they're not dressed up in rainbow outfits. They're actually in Army what they call BDUs, the business duty uniforms, and looking pretty good. We weren't talking about Pride Month or anything else. It was like, come join the Army.
Oh, so they were talking about what they should be talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
That's so weird. No propaganda.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Just wait till you get there.
Yeah,
and it'll start. Yeah.
Well,
got to fix that.
Yeah. Well, and Jesse Waters was talking about the misplaced priorities in our military.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's take a look.
Matthew Lowermeyer is a former U.S. Space Force lieutenant colonel commander who was forced to resign from the military for speaking against wokeness. So why are they trying to confuse and distract young cadets and shame them about who they are?
Jesse, thanks for having me on to talk about this important issue. You said our enemies might be laughing at us over these things, and indeed they may be, but I'll tell you exactly what the American people and our service members who are wearing the uniform of their country are thinking about this. Misplaced priorities. Misplaced priorities is perhaps, and a distraction is perhaps the only way that you're able to characterize the way our senior military leaders are behaving right now and what their policies are conveying to our service members. And that's why the American people and our people in uniform, our service members, regardless of their age, regardless probably of their political bent, and regardless of their rank, are losing their trust and confidence in our senior military leaders' ability to lead right now. And in fact, let me point out one thing that I just learned yesterday. This is dramatically affecting our recruitment and retention efforts across all branches of the military. I heard yesterday that we have 890 new accessions who have accepted appointments to the U.S. Air Force Academy this year to attend next year, down several hundred from what our typical acceptance rate is of these appointments, from nearly 1,400 a year. There are a lot of people in this country right now who are being disincentivized from joining the services, which should concern the American people. And there's a lot of good people who are leaving the service right now who for their entire lives have thought that they would stick around for a very long time. It's really disappointing and discouraging to see this.
Yeah, we're gutting our military, and I don't see how instilling CRT helps unit cohesion. It actually destroys it.
That's right.
And I honestly think they want it destroyed because there's no other reason for them to be teaching that stuff at West Point. West Point should be ashamed of itself, and they should answer for that.
Yeah. This stuff, Jesse, sows division. You know it. Many of the American people are waking up to this, and our military thrives on unity. You cannot have effective mission capability, and you can't assure mission readiness unless you've got a unified force. This destroys unity. In fact, last week, I interviewed an F-16 pilot that's now available on YouTube. This guy's being purged from the military right now, along with 700 other pilots right now because of the Biden administration's policies. The people in this country need to wake up, be educated about what's taking place in our military, and then they need to become activated about it.
They sure should. Thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse.
It's really sad to see what the military's become, and
yeah,
you know, you were talking about the Army, but you know, apparently the Navy or the Air Force. The Air Force.
The Navy has its own problems. The Air Force now has one. Let's take a look. This is what they're posting these days
on their social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see the soldier here saluting the pride flag. Happy Pride Month to everyone. I don't like it. I think that it's divisive. I think that they're pushing propaganda, and you know, for all of us Americans that think that we're free, I think that we should really think about what we're allowed to see in this country and what they're pushing on us, because you know who we don't see a lot of is Putin. We don't see his speeches, which I think is imperative for the American people. We see a whole lot of Zelensky, but we don't see a lot of Putin. And I would like to know what he's saying.
Yeah.
I think that that's how we're able to think for ourselves, and we're able to determine what the situation actually is. You know, I'm not for the war in Ukraine, but also I don't think it's in the best interest of the U.S. to be spending all this money because we don't have it.
Because not only that, but I mean we're fighting actually a proxy war with Russia at this point, and it's costing us a lot. And if we started going after our own oil, we're standing on top of it. It's embarrassing. The Secretary of State, this incompetent boob, is once again getting his knees bloody, begging the Saudis not to cut their oil production by 1 billion barrels a day, a week or day or whatever it is, 1 million barrels a week. Because instead of the fact that we are standing on top of the biggest oil reserve and the cleanest oil reserve in the world, we have plenty of it. We could be doing good American jobs. It would be lowering the prices of everything. Because remember, everything that's brought to your grocery store, everything that's brought to any store where you shop is brought in by truck, usually running on diesel fuel, or by train that runs on diesel fuel. And that's not going to change. God gave us these resources for a reason. The earth actually makes this stuff. They're not fossil fuels. We didn't have that many dinosaurs. Huh?
It's actually renewable energy.
Yeah, it is renewable energy, as a matter of fact. They keep telling us so that because I remember, when they had the big oil crisis back in 1973 or so, we had gas lines and things of that nature.
Oh, yeah.
When OPEC,
I've seen photos.
Yeah, when OPEC, I was there, and you had to make an appointment to go to the gas station. Actually had to make an appointment to go fill up my car.
That's wild.
And sometimes they would only allow you to get 10 gallons at a time.
Oh wow!
And it wasn't so bad here in Charleston. It was awful at that point, and we should have learned our lesson at that point to become energy independent and stay that way. And when we are being held hostage by our enemies, and these enemies we give them money, and they use this money to fund terrorism and fund other wars. Putin wouldn't have the money and resources to fight this war if he didn't have the money that he's getting from oil now that we're letting him have. This is just, and of course we've just seen the facts coming out about the Nord Stream pipeline, that they said the Russians themselves sabotaged their own pipeline. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. We're finding out now that maybe it was the Ukrainians that did that special diving team that they had there that was responsible for bombing that pipeline. And it is just ridiculous that we're not going after our own oil. And all these people that are sitting there protesting, say we don't need fossil fuels, we need to get all electric cars and everything. Where's the electricity generated? Where's the electricity come from? It isn't coming from solar panels. It isn't coming from windmills. Fortunately, Georgia Power we're the only people in the last 50 years that have built a nuclear power plant. Reactor number 3 is ready to get online. It's now at 100%, and they're ready to put that online. So we'll be selling electricity to other states.
Yeah, and, which hasn't come without any controversy.
Oh no, well, of course. And Unit 4 is going to be ready in about a year.
Yes. So Steve says he misses old Jesse, but will never watch Fox again. Mm-hmm. My parents are the same way. They're actually really funny about it. The policies, and Mary says, the policies of this administration are all intentional destruction of our country, including our military. Absolutely. I don't think we've seen anything productive in the last 2 years come from this administration. I'm also still very upset with McCarthy about the deal that he just made on the debt ceiling.
And but the fact that we have, I know that they're just laughing their butts off in Beijing and Moscow over the fact that our guys are learning and gals are learning about their pronouns. Yep. And whether or not they've had enough drag shows to boost morale. Rather than actually learning how to kill the enemy.
Yeah, and before we go today, I just want to mention a couple of things. And one of those is Damon Atkins. For those of you that don't know, he was a Christian that was at a Pride event. He was on the sidewalk, public area, and he was just protesting. But he only had a couple of words on a sign, and he was arrested, and now he's going to have to fight that. So he does have a Give, Send, Go if you feel so compelled as to donate to him, because he is going to have to fight this battle in court as he was arrested. But he had just Go and Sin No More from John 8:11, and that's all he had on the sign, and he was arrested for protesting.
Well, you had the 12-year-old kid that was kicked out of school, said there are only 2 genders because it was frightening some of his fellow students.
Well, I think for me, this is a free speech issue, and we allowed people to burn things down, and they didn't get arrested. So someone having it also shows you how powerful it is, how powerful religion is, because they don't want anyone to see it. They don't want anyone to have any access to it. So I think it's important that we stick together and that we do support people that are willing to stand up, because it is really hard to do this.
Well, during the pandemic, what did they shut down? Churches?
Yep.
But what stayed open?
Liquor
stores? Yeah.
Yep, liquor stores and protests.
Liquor stores.
Or riots, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, not mentioned in the Constitution, but the church is.
It absolutely is. So, and just remember, don't ever let them do it to you again, because they're going to try. I think that once you get that power, I think it's really easy for people to just start wielding it in a way that is dangerous for a free, I'm going to put in quotes there, a free people, because we're used to being able to do a lot of the things that we want. I mean, we do get kicked off YouTube and things like that, but other than that, there's free speech, right?
Yeah, really. We've been in YouTube purgatory on a number of occasions. Damon Atkins is the guy. So if you can help him out, please do.
Yes.
Atkins.
Yep.
Damon Atkins.
Yes.
Check him out. Continue to check us out. Tell all your friends.
Download our app. Check us out on YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook. Our podcast is also on Apple and Spotify. And we will see you guys next week.
Yep. Have a good weekend. Looks like it's going to be a nice one.